Alan called up one day and said, after he saw the movie, and he said, Don, I have to score this movie. And it's like the producer's dream to say that. And so Alan's score is so much a big part of what we have here. So this is Alan, Howard's sister Sarah, our partner Bill, and our producer Lori. So I just wanted to bring these guys up because the movie wouldn't have been possible without the cooperation of all of you. And I just want to thank you publicly for that because to tell this story is an emotional journey for all of us.
Thank you for making the movie.
Absolutely. Yeah, we just lost Alan.
Well, I thought I was going to erupt into like belly cry. I was like, it's just such, it's very emotional, and it just remains fresh. It just does. I think we all of us who knew Howard and loved him, feel him in our lives every day. I still feel he's been a part of everything I've done since then. It's an extraordinary honor to be a part of being a part of this film.
Sarah, we're relying on you here.
I brought my Kleenex with me. 2.5 years ago, Don and I sat in a lobby at a convention in LA, and he said he wanted to make this movie, and I really thought, yeah, sure, go ahead, give it a shot. And not that I didn't trust, but I know how hard it is, and I just want you to know that Bill and I and Alan and we all cooperated and we did our best, but this is Don's voice in Don's movie, and it's beautiful. I have to stop now.
Like Sarah, I'm tremendously grateful to Don for making this movie. As any of us who knew Howard, who are still here, realized that there's not many people left who knew him, that we were still in touch with. And for like 27 years, I've been telling people, I wish you could have known Howard, I wish you could have met him. And now Don has given them that opportunity with this brief little window into who Howard was. So thank you so much.
I too want to thank you for taking on this journey with all of you. And I want to thank all the filmmakers that I got in contact with via Facebook and things who were able to contribute photos and videos, because without them, this would have been very, very difficult to say.
We have some time for questions. Yeah.
Thank you also for making this movie beautiful. Can you touch on the intersection of this film and Waking Sleeping Beauty, which was also fantastically done? I remember seeing that in the part focusing on Howard Ashman and wishing that there was a Howard documentary on him. So can you touch on the two films?
Yeah, the question's about Waking Sleeping Beauty, which is a documentary I made about 8 or 9 years ago about the renaissance of animation at Disney. And there's a little section in there about Howard, and I think that kind of sparked this film. Also, Jonathan, about 8 years ago also, when he was a student at USC, started collecting interviews and things to try to make a Howard Ashman documentary. He provided a lot of this foundation. But, so that was the beginning of it, but there was so much more material, and this was a real treasure hunt. I didn't want to make the movie with heads or old guys reminiscing, and I didn't want to show us on screen because, look at us. But come on, it's much better to, I didn't mean that, Alan. You of all of us, you are incredibly handsome. But I wanted to put you at the tables that we were at, and I wanted to take you to the places that we were all lucky to be at, and that kind of voyeuristic experience in this film is really what I wanted. That's why there's no narrator. That's why there's no nothing but period footage and period recordings of Howard. And the week before we mixed, just a few weeks ago, we got a phone call from a reporter who said, I heard you were making a Howard Ashman documentary. I was at the Little Mermaid junket in 1989, and I have an interview with Howard and Alan. Would you like to hear it? And I said, yes. And we actually cut it into the movie. It's that little section there. which I don't think you've even heard the whole thing of. Yeah. So anyway, it was a treasure hunt, and thanks to Lori and Stephen, we were able to put it all together. I have to thank, too, Kyle Rennick, who's sitting out here, who's in the movie, who founded the WPA with Howard and Stuart. Thank you, Kyle. What else?
Yeah, the first Aladdin when Jeffrey Katzenberg hated that, was that what was he saying? Was that a full cut with?
It was called Black Friday. Basically, originally he had the sidekicks, that Kakamar and Kasim, and also he had a mother. Mothers don't fare very well in Disney animated movies.
But I mean, did he have Robin Williams and all that, or was it just?
No, that was before Robin.
No, it was just before.
Yeah. Interesting side note, Howard was very close to Valerie Velarde, who was Robin's first wife, he was actually quite upset. Howard was not alive when Robin was brought onto the picture. And I always wondered what Howard would have thought. I think he would have been thrilled. Yes, it was before any casting. We had that original version of the film, which contained songs that are now in the Broadway show, like Proud of Your Boy, and Bat Kakamar, Aladdin Kasim, and High Adventure. And then it was decided that it was more of an adventure picture, and they really wanted to be more of a romance. The princess was really just kind of like she was like it's a love interest, but it was really a buddy story, and that changed on that to call Black Friday. You know about Black Friday? Were you in the room?
I was not in the room, but I was in the next room.
Yeah, we didn't know anything about it until after Howard passed, and then they said, there's been this change, and then Tim Rice came aboard.
I think there's a question.
Yeah,
Yes.
is there a great movie? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All of you, thank you. Is there any unreleased Howard Ashman material that we might get to hear?
Yes.
Yes. We collected probably 50 or 60 hours of Howard footage, the greatest of which is Howard and Alan's demos on all the songs, and some that didn't make it into movies and some that did. Interviews, of which there are snippets in here. So at some point, somehow, we'll try to sneak that out and be able to share that.
There's an unfinished musical we started, and we're looking at a way to bring that to life. There's a treasure trove of lost, like Sheridan Square was a song that was just deep in the trunk, and then I played it. I don't know. We took it out of the trunk. I don't know how long ago, and people were just so moved by it. And it had been like an artifact that had just been kind of pushed to the side, and now it's become a really significant song to people. Proud of Your Boy was similar. When it was cut, we used to just let things go. If they're gone, they're gone. Daughter of God. Well, there's a lot more, but they don't know that one. But there's a lot. There's a deep trunk. Howard was, and also with other people. I had this experience when I played at D23 at Disneyland, and I said, what better song to play than... Well, Marvin had just passed away before that D23 concert. And what better song for me to play than Disneyland? I didn't write Disneyland. It was Howard and Marvin. But I wanted to learn to play it myself so I can at least present it. And I put the lyric, Disneyland in front of me, knowing the music, but I wanted to get my hands around it. And it was just that moment of having a lyric by Howard in front of me, a new lyric for the first time in decades. It just tore me up. It's something about what he wrote in the words and between the lines that just nobody else did it like Howard, and that or ever has.
There's a question. Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to know from any of you, what was the most memorable thing that Howard ever told you, or the funniest thing?
I'm going to pass this over. What's the most memorable or funniest thing Howard told you?
Oh.
I'll go back to the story about the Dream Greene? Yeah, because when Howard was a child, he would have this dream, a reoccurring dream, where the Mouseketeers from the old black and white TV show would come to his window and say, "Howard, come with us, come away with us." And he would get up and go with them, and he'd become a Mouseketeer. And he did, at about 35 years old.
As I'm here representing the childhood, but you know, as kids, you know, Howard directed us in shows in the backyard, and they were really, really good shows. And I guess oh hell, we're all friends. I'll tell you this story. I'll tell you this story. That Howard was going to do with this bunch of like 10-year-olds in the backyard, Gypsy, because why wouldn't you do Gypsy? Yeah. So two things happened. I was not baby June. I was little Louise, and at one point I had to jump through a hula hoop covered in newspaper and sing "Let Me Entertain You." And the kid who had made the hula hoop covered in newspaper had used paper mache, and I couldn't get through the damn thing. But the girl who was supposed to do the sexy "Let Me Entertain You" was not very good because she was 12 years old. And you know, Howard was also 12, but he knew what he wanted. And he had actually put up a scrim. We actually had it was a sheet with a light behind it. It was a little theater scrim. And damn it, he stood behind the scrim with scarves and did the whole "Let Me Entertain You" with the scarves rather than ruin the moment. I hope he forgives me for letting you know this story.
One moment which actually involves you, David. Yeah. We were rehearsing with Richard White, who played Gaston. You did not know that Howard was sick. And you scheduled, do you remember the rehearsal you scheduled on the, is it a 7th floor walk-up? Yeah. And so I get to the rehearsal, I go up the stairs, and is Howard here yet? Oh, he's not here yet. Like, oh, okay, oh. And I go out to the hallway and I look and I see Howard just hanging onto the railing, and he makes his way up the stairs. He gets up, he says, "I'm going to kill David." And then he, wait a second. And he opens the door, he goes, "Hi honey, I'm home." Starts the rehearsal. I mean, there's so many Howard stories.
Okay, we have time for one more. Yeah.
What do you think would have been? I saw it in Jeffrey's notes that were about Mary Poppins sequel, which obviously that kind of thing. What do you think would have been? What would have been his dream?
That Jeffrey note is interesting because it's in the Library of Congress, and it was great because it does have Mary Poppins on it, but it has Arabian Nights, it has Little Mermaid, it has a movie called Doofus, which was what was Doofus? It was
something with a dog.
Something with a dog, yeah. It was like Catcher in the Rye with a dog. But what would have been? I mean, who knows? Alan knows better.
Well, I'll tell you this. He shocked me once. I don't remember if this was before I knew he was sick or after, but there was that point where it was just clear that Howard was on a trajectory to the top of our industry. Howard was going to do anything he wanted. He could have had. I figured, okay, you want to have your own production company, or do you want to have your own theater? He said, what I would like more than anything else would be to have a children's theater group. It just shocked me when he said that. And it really was surprising. You'd think it would have been something really money-making and big, and no, he always dreamed of maybe having a children's theater group.
It says a lot about Howard. Hey, I want to close just by thanking Tribeca for having us here. Our screenings are sold out this week, and you as an audience have been incredibly warm. This is the first time we've screened it anywhere on the planet, so thank you for your warm reception.